relaxes the mask wearing policies on campus, when students will and won't need to mask up, and why the change.
And TV2 sat down with a Ukrainian journalist about her experience amid the tensions with Russia.
A jury finds Breonna Taylor's killer not guilty. Their reasoning for an acquittal and reactions from the courtroom.
If you have old Pokemon cards laying around, listen up. A rare card just broke the record for the highest priced Pokemon card ever sold. Find out what was on that price tag as TV2 News starts right now.
This is TV2 News.
Penn State announces changes to its on-campus masking policies. That's where we begin tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steffen.
And I'm Alexandria Manthey. The more relaxed measures come just 1 week after the CDC announced changes to its mask-wearing guidelines.
Anthony Furiga is here in the studio with us now to go over the new guidance. Anthony?
Hey guys, just hours ago, President Daikon and the Office of the Provost sent out emails to Kent State students regarding changes to Kent State's mask mandate. These changes were brought about after the CDC made changes to its ranking system on COVID-19 transmissions in communities. The CDC put Portage County at low transmission. Kent State said it will continue to monitor Portage County's data to make changes to the policy if needed. In most cases, wearing masks is now optional. However, there are some instances where students will still be required to wear masks. These include in academic classrooms, in laboratories and studios during academic sessions, in the DeWeese Health Center, in the Child Development Center, and on all PARTA buses.
Do you remember this, and even this? The White House says you might get to enjoy some of those things again soon without having to worry as much about COVID-19. Here's the plan.
First, protect against and treat COVID. Second, prepare for any new variants. Third, prevent economic and school shutdowns. Fourth, vaccinate the world and save lives.
Let's break down those 4 items. Some pharmacies are preparing, quote, test to treat initiatives. They'll offer free COVID-19 tests. If you're positive, you'll go home with FDA-authorized antiviral medicine for free. If new variants emerge,
we are ready to deploy personnel and resources to quickly update the vaccines.
The White House wants you to be able to safely go to work and send your kids to school without shutdowns. And the U.S. continues a push for more COVID vaccinations worldwide. On top of that plan, officials are considering letting you fly without a mask. That mandate expires March 18th.
Transportation is another arena where I think a lot of us are looking forward to being able to put so many of these pandemic restrictions behind us.
The travel mask mandate might end.
When we see those numbers begin to drop to levels that show that safety can be had, now we all have to get there working together.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Kent State University is not the only school to make changes to its mask mandate. The Ravenna School District recently made wearing masks optional in classrooms and on buses. They joined the growing list of local school districts in Portage County that are making wearing masks optional. And it's not just school districts. Other colleges such as Northeastern University, Denison University, and Otterbein University have made wearing masks optional on their campuses. To stay up to date on all COVID-19 news, follow us at Kent Wired on social media platforms. Reporting for TV2 News, I'm Anthony Furiga.
Thanks, Anthony. And tensions with Ukraine and Russia continue over Russia's invasion of the country last week.
Kennedy Gotham joins us after an interview with a Ukrainian journalist reporting there on the grounds of it all. Kennedy, I'm sure a tough conversation.
Hi guys, yes. Professors at Kent State arranged a virtual meeting with the Ukrainian journalist. She was able to give personal insight to the current situation with Russia and Ukraine. Despite living in an active war zone, Olesia Markovic took time to meet with Kent State professors and students to discuss her personal experiences with living in Ukraine.
She's a reporter, an executive producer, social media analyst, and a media and public relations trainer.
She has reported on human rights, free speech, education, and has worked in many different parts of the world.
I was in Budapest reporting on these refugees for a couple of Ukrainian TV channels and magazines, and the scale was just enormous.
The support from the U.S. and other countries does not go unnoticed by Ukraine.
I truly believe that our resistance, our military response to the Russian aggression, combined with the diplomatic efforts, with sanctions, and with pressure from the Western partners, will bring some results.
Students were able to ask questions at the end of the meeting. She shared stories about her 8-year-old son.
Today he asked me for Belgian waffles with whipped cream and strawberries, and I said no, and he was kind of upset. He couldn't figure out why I said no.
Professors at the university wanted to stress the importance of the opportunity that was given to the students.
We focus on human rights and human dignity, and we focus on war, and we focus on peace, and we focus on global north.
Professor Smith wants Kent State to be able to support those like Alexa in a time of hardship.
And how could Kent State welcome and integrate refugees from Eastern Europe, particularly from Ukraine? So it's completely, everything Ukraine is going through, which we study every day, not just today, is an encapsulation.
Professor Stephanie Smith hopes that one day Kent State University will be known as the nation's most welcoming refugee campus. From the Franklin Hall studio, I'm Kennedy Gotham.
Kennedy, thanks. Also tonight, an update on the conflict's continuing impact on U.S. drivers. Some call it pain at the pump, and unfortunately, it doesn't look to be getting better anytime soon. The price of gas sits at a national average of $3.72. Prices look slightly better for Ohioans, $3.62 per gallon. Still, that's 8 cents more than drivers paid just yesterday, and compared to a week ago, a 30-cent hike in prices.
Governor Mike DeWine signed an executive order earlier today that will prohibit the state of Ohio from providing finances that might aid Russia in violating the rights of Ukrainian people. The order also states that any contracts with Russian institutions or companies must be terminated. This is in addition to Executive Order 2019-12D, which generally prohibits the purchase of offshore services by the state. Those with autism are now able to legally obtain marijuana in the state of Ohio. The Ohio House passed a bipartisan bill as of Wednesday, allowing those on the spectrum to be added to the list of qualifying conditions. House Bill 60 was sponsored by Juanita Brent, a Cleveland Democrat, and Bill Seitz, a Cincinnati Republican. The bill passed 73-13 and is now headed to the state Senate for consideration.
Hello, Kent State and Portage County. I'm TV2 weather anchor Alexa Blakley, here to bring you today's forecast. Let's get started. So it's a little bit chilly in Kent today at 28 degrees, but it feels more like 19. We have wind moving northwest at 5 miles per hour, and humidity is at 59% today. And if we look at the temperatures going into this evening, it's going to get even chillier at 24 degrees at 8, 21 by 10, and 19 by midnight tonight. It's going to start off a little bit cloudy, but as we move further into the night, we're going to have beautiful clear skies. So even though it is a chilly night, it will be a really beautiful one. And if we take a look at temperatures across Ohio today, some cities in Ohio are having much warmer temperatures than we are. I'm a little jealous. 44 in Dayton and 42 in Cincinnati. Lima's a little bit closer to where we are at 29 degrees today and 36 in Columbus. And if we zoom in on Northeast Ohio, a lot of cities in Northeast Ohio today are sitting at 30 degrees. That's Sandusky, Mansfield, Worcester, and Cleveland. Everything else is at 29 degrees, and we unfortunately have the lowest temperature in all of Ohio in Kent today at 27 degrees. Now that's all I have for you right now, but stay tuned because when I come back, I've got a sneak peek of tomorrow's weather and the 7-day forecast. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Alexa. Now, many KSU alumni are proud to rep the university, even years after they graduate, but when it comes on how they choose to show That gratitude, 1985 graduate Dr. Earl Miller may just top the list. He's donating $2 million to Kent State's Brain Health Research Institute. The money will help create an endowed directorship as well as a fund for undergrad fellowship. President Deichen, in a statement, expressed the university's deep gratitude to Miller for his continuing support of the institute. A new wave of Amazon closures, the tech giant announcing it's shutting down over 60 physical stores. Where and what impact it'll have.
Former Louisville Metro Police Officer Brett Hankinson testified in court Wednesday. More on the death of Breonna Taylor and who will be held responsible.
A natural gas leak has broken out on campus near Whitehall. That information coming from a KSU advisory.
That's right. All activities and classes are canceled in Whitehall and Moulton Hall until further notice.
We'll keep you updated as we learn more. Now to the updates in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. A second round of talks between delegations from both countries has ended. Both sides now agreeing on humanitarian corridors for civilians.
That's according to head of Russian delegation Vladimir Medsky. The two delegations met at an undisclosed location on the Ukrainian border Thursday. Talks lasted 2.5 hours and consisted of conversations surrounding 3 points: immediate ceasefire, armistice, and evacuation of citizens.
The latter of those, Medinsky says, is the only front clearly agreed upon after talks. Essentially, the two came to terms on the matter of safely rescuing civilians who've found themselves in a military clash zone. It comes on day 8 of the Russian invasion of the sovereign state of Ukraine. So far, more than 1 million people escaping the violence, according to the United Nations. It left most of the surrounding European countries, though, with a massive refugee crisis. Russia continues its assault on key Ukrainian cities, tightening its control of Ukraine's south. President Vladimir Putin told French President Emmanuel Macron over the phone Thursday military action will continue unless the Ukrainian army is neutralized and disarms.
The White House is asking lawmakers for $10 billion to help Ukraine. The money would be used for humanitarian, security, and economic assistance. The White House sent over a formal request Wednesday as part of a $32.5 billion emergency funding request. Lawmakers are in the midst of negotiations over a long-term funding deal that could face a March 11th deadline to reach an agreement. And a major component of Putin's reasoning for the invasion is what he calls the denazification of Ukraine. But senior U.S. officials say that they are baseless claims.
And Wednesday, a rocket launched by Russia damaging the area of Babin Yar Holocaust Memorial. Amid all this, Sam Kiley visited a synagogue now acting as a bomb shelter for Jews and Gentiles alike.
Air raid sirens in Uman. Civilians seeking shelter from Russian bombs in what Vladimir Putin says is partly a campaign to rid Ukraine of a Nazi leadership. The absurdity of this claim lost on no one here heading to the basement of a synagogue.
The Jewish population of Ukraine has suffered terribly over the last few hundred years. It's had pogroms that have been inflicted on it by the Tsarist regime. It suffered miserably under Stalin, and of course the Jews here were murdered en masse by Hitler.
The tomb of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov is a pilgrimage site for thousands of Hasidic Jews and has flourished under Ukraine's recent governments. Now the streets of its Jewish community are almost deserted, the result of Putin's so-called denazification program. The military site in the town was bombed on day one of the Russian campaign against Ukraine.
Do you think Ukraine has a government of National Socialists, of Nazis? That is what Putin says.
No, I think there in Ukraine, you see that Ukraine in the last year, they give us to come to Rabbi Nachman. They don't make us problem.
I have been living here for 7 months, and it's been amazing, very loving and very caring to the Jewish people.
Putin's called on Ukraine's military to rise against the government, which he says is a gang of drug addicts and neo-Nazis who settled in Kiev and took the entire Ukrainian people hostage. On Tuesday, Russian bombing of Kiev's radio tower also damaged a Holocaust memorial at the Babi Yar, where more than 30,000 people were murdered in 1941. Many tens of thousands were murdered later. Now, Ukraine's Jewish president suggested that Putin is following Hitler's lead. He said this kind of a missile strike demonstrates that for many people in Russia, our Kiev is absolutely alien. They don't know anything about our capital, about our history. But they have an order to erase our history, to erase our country, to erase all of us. In Uman, the synagogue's underground mikveh bathing complex is a bunker for Jew and Gentile alike.
I knew that Uman is Jewish, but exactly this place where we are, I just know that it's a bomb shelter and it's safe to be here. That's why I am here.
Like many people in this town, Dasha and her family are joining an exodus out of Ukraine. For those left behind, there's little but the promise of a long, hard winter.
Welcome back, everyone. I know you've been waiting for the rest of today's weather forecast, so I won't keep you waiting any longer. So now we're going to start with a sneak peek of tonight and tomorrow's weather. So it's going to be a really chilly night at 17 degrees, but really clear skies, and sunset is happening real soon at 6:19. It's going to be partly cloudy tomorrow morning and almost no chance of rain all day. And if we take a more detailed look at tomorrow morning, it's going to start real chilly at 16 degrees at 6 a.m. But it's going to go up a little bit by 9 a.m. to 24 degrees and up to 36 by noon, and it's going to stay partly cloudy throughout all the day, but low chances of rain. And finally, we have our 7-day forecast for the week. So tomorrow is going to start off at 43 degrees, partly cloudy, and this weekend, luckily, we're going to be seeing some warmer temperatures. So 66 on Saturday and a high of 70 on Sunday. It is going to be really windy on Sunday, though, so we'll have to see if it actually feels like 70. A little bit of chance of rain on Monday, cloudy Tuesday and Wednesday, and more rain on Thursday with temperatures in the 40s and 50s throughout the week. That's all I have for you today. Stay safe and stay warm, and I'll see you again next Thursday.
Did you feel like you did wrong on March 13th at 3003 Springfield Drive?
Absolutely not.
Former Louisville Metro Police Officer Brett Hankinson testified in his own defense Wednesday. He's charged with 3 counts of wanton endangerment related to the raid that killed Breonna Taylor nearly 2 years ago. Hankinson is accused of putting Taylor's neighbors in danger when he returned fire during the raid. 3 officers fired a total of 32 rounds, and none of the officers were charged with Taylor's death.
The company some argue is responsible for the closure of thousands of traditional bookstores, Amazon is now closing some of its own physical stores. It's a total of 68 retail locations, including all Amazon bookstores. It's also closing 2 of its other physical retail concepts, 4-star and pop-up stores. The company says it will stay in the grocery business in a big way with Whole Foods, Amazon Fresh, and Amazon Go.
A nationwide group of state attorneys general announced an investigation into social media platform TikTok and its impact on young Americans as of Tuesday. According to an announcement by the states, the probe zeroes in on TikTok's user engagement techniques and alleged risks that the platform may pose to mental health of children. This comes just days after President Biden called for greater accountability of tech platforms.
So this is a way for the church, we as representatives of the church, the Episcopal Church in this case, to say clearly and loudly that we recognize the inclusion of all people, and to do it on a day that, people often participate in this ritual of ashes.
That ritual, something countless Christians partook in this Ash Wednesday, but in Michigan, things arguably were a little bit more festive than usual. 2 churches joined forces, mixing glitter in with the ashes used in the ritual, they say a sign of support for the LGBTQ community. Ash Wednesday is a sacred tradition signifying the beginning of the 40-day period of Lent. One reverend, though, says it can also signify inclusion. All right, well, the once-in-a-lifetime and quite presidential birthday celebration for a 13-year-old, getting a birthday shout-out seen by millions across the nation.
The Kent State women's basketball and lacrosse teams were in action yesterday. Stay tuned to find out how the 2 teams performed.
Myth. If you get COVID-19, you'll recover after a few days. That myth is false. We're only just beginning to understand the effects of COVID-19 on the human body, as we're starting to see more and more people identifying as long haulers who are having symptoms for weeks, if not months, after their initial infection. Continue to wear a mask, socially distance, and wash your hands. Together, we can keep COVID out of school.
For ways to keep your community safe, go to backtoschooltogether.com.
Come on! Go, Diane! Yeah, keep it going! Yeah! Go, honey!
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Throw that ball, Diane! Woo! You got this!
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
And now, your TV2 Sports Report.
Hi, my name is Ian Herrmann, and welcome to Thursday Night Sports. We will begin tonight with a recap of the Kent State women's basketball game from last night. And the women traveled to Bowling Green to take on the Falcons in their second last game of the regular season and lost by a score of 69-60. The Flashes have lost their second game in a row and are now in trouble of not making the MAC playoffs. Kent State shot decent from the field, shooting 42%, but struggled from 3, shooting just 28%. Lindsey Thal led all Flashes with 22 points, with Hannah Young the only other Flash in double figures with 10. Now we will look at the MAC standings and what the Flashes need to happen to make the MAC tournament. And as we see Toledo in first at 18-1, Buffalo in second at 15-4, Akron at 3 at 12-7. All those teams are safe. And then you have Ball State at 10-8, Western Michigan at 10-9, Bowling Green at 10-9, Northern Illinois at 10-9, OU at 9-10, and Kent State at 9-10. Now there's a lot that has to happen for the women's team to make the tourney. First off, they have to beat OU, and then Bowling Green has to beat Buffalo. Central Michigan has to beat Northern Illinois, and or Toledo must beat Western Michigan. So they have a lot of work to do to get going if they want to make the MAC tourney coming up. And now switching to lacrosse, The Kent State women's lacrosse team dropped their 4th loss of the season at home to Robert Morris 11-8 after the women won their last 2 games in a row. The loss pushes their overall record to 2-4 and 0-2 in the MAC. Jackie Wolford extended her goal streak to 10 goals in her last 4 games after another hat trick last night. Other scorers for the Flashes was Abby Jones with 2 and Morgan Kubicki, Madison Rapier, and Kelly Bailey with 1. The next game for Kent State is tomorrow at home against Cincinnati at 4 p.m. And now we will go to Cleveland, where the Hornets were in town, taking on Darius Garland and the Cavs. We'll pick it up first quarter. Garland, he's carrying the ball up the court. He'll slow it down. He's trying to wait for the offense to set up. He'll end up going right. He'll keep going right, and he'll take the opportunity, take it to the hoop, and he'll get a nice layup to fall. Cavs go up 1. Now the second quarter. Garland with the ball again to Laurie Markkinen. It's stripped, picked up by Miles Bridges, over to Terry Rozier, up to Miles Bridges for the lob with one hand. And Miles Bridges had 17 points on the night. We'll go to the third quarter. Garland with the ball again. Bounce pass to Jared Arlen, stripped by LaMelo Ball. 2-on-1 fast break down the court ball to Rozier. He gets a layup and 1 call as well on Markkinen. And the Hornets are up big, 69-52. And later on, Rozier, he'll get the ball again. He'll take it up the court. He's trying to set something up on offense for the Hornets. He's got 1 man on him. He's going to cut in, stop, and he'll eventually find a cutting Kelly Oubre Jr. for the floater. And the Hornets win big, 119-98, giving the Cavs their 2nd loss in a row. And that is all I have for sports for today. My name is Ian Herrmann. To follow all of the Kent State sports over the weekend, follow us at TV2 KSU Sports.
One Pokemon fan takes catching them all to a whole other level. The near $1 million purchase breaking records next.
Meet the Scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and...
I am totally a hat person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back. A 13-year-old boy from Virginia got perhaps one of the most high-profile birthday shout-outs ever on Tuesday. He was at the State of the Union address, and the President of the United States wished him a happy birthday during the speech. Joshua Davis attended the event as a guest of First Lady Jill Biden and went Twitter viral due to the shout-out. Davis later spoke out about that day, saying it was awesome.
When it comes to Pokemon trading cards, you gotta catch them all, but for some, comes at a price, like a pretty steep price actually. This near mint condition vintage gaming card sold for $900,000. The Japanese promo Illustrator holographic Pikachu card was created in 1998 and only released in Japan. There were more than 30 other offers, but an unknown bidder won out in the end, making it the highest priced Pokemon card ever sold. I would love to know who bought that card.
Yeah,
and what they do for
that's a lot of money. But Connor, I hear that you're a Pokemon fan.
I'm a Pokemon fan, absolutely. But we don't have enough time to talk about that because it's time to wrap up the show, unfortunately. Thanks for sticking with us tonight.
And for all of these stories and more, go to KentWired.com and follow us on social media at KentWired. I'm Alexandria Manthey.
And I'm Connor Steffen. Have a great night, Portage County.
after you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.